Hey everybody, Rockin Robbie here for Pop Culture Philosophers, and it's time for a Robbie Rants. And today we're going to do a recap and review of Flash number 21, the second part of The Button. That's right, everybody. Just like we did last week, we're going to talk about The Button. We're going to talk in detail, so spoiler warning, there will be spoilers ahead. I'm going to tell you what happens in Flash 21. I will even show you what happens in Flash 21. So if you do not want to know what happens in The Button story, stop watching and watch this video after you do. Let's talk about The Button. Second part of The Button in Flash number 21. This chapter is written by Joshua Williamson with art by Howard Porter. I think that overall, it's not as thrilling as the first part, but this is a necessary chapter, and there's really lots of cool stuff in this book, so don't sleep on it, don't overlook it. Lots of stuff to talk about in this book. Let's start off. First of all, the writing is really, really good. Joshua Williamson does a really good job of catching you up if for some ungodly reason you missed chapter 1. He catches you up really, really quick. Howard Porter's pencils are really good and some of the best work that he's churned out. Howard Porter's been drawing comics for a very, very long time. Some of his notable work would be Grant Morrison's JLA, one of the best superhero comic book periods, especially in the 90s. Best superhero comic of the 90s, Grant Morrison's JLA. Second, maybe Kingdom Come, actually. But I think it's better than Kingdom Come. That's just me. I'm a Grant Morrison guy. Anyway, all that aside, this stuff is actually really good. Howard Porter stuff goes up and down. Even that JLA run, a lot of the artwork I don't really like that much. This is some of the best artwork of Howard Porter's career. I think it's really good. I think the style works for it. It, however, does not mash up with Jason Fabok's artwork very much. Jason Fabok, of course, is the artist who did Batman number 21, chapter 1. So when they collect this into a trade paperback and or a hardcover, it's going to be very awkward, I think. It's going to be very jarring in the artistic style. But it does work as a Flash comic. It does really, really cool. Lots of energy, lots of dynamic, cool colors. Let's get into what's going on in this book. The first part of The Button started off with a Legion of Superheroes reference. This one starts off with the Justice Society of America reference. And seriously, guys, the Justice Society of America is awesome. If you've never read JSA stuff, read the JSA stuff by Jeff Johns. Absolutely. David Goyer and James Robinson, I think, kicked it off officially, but Jeff Johns kind of took it over and it became his baby. Amazing stuff. Jay Garrick, Alan Scott. These are amazing characters. Wildcat, Stargirl, Starman, even for a bit, Hourman, lots of cool stuff. This starts off with a reference to JSA. Why? Because that's Johnny Thunder in the very beginning. The old man, he speaks that the lightning is telling him that he needs to save his friends, that the Justice Society is gone, they're missing. He mentions the lightning. He also does control lightning. He has a genie. That's basically what is in his pen. Johnny Thunder was a JSA member way back in the day. He has a pen. He would click it. He would say, "See you," and it's basically an imp from the fifth dimension, just like Mixyzptlk, right? So it's a version of that, and it gives Johnny Thunder the power, and it's Thunderbolt. That's who he is. He's from the JSA. He's talking about the JSA being missing. They have been talking about this since DC Rebirth first started. We have been promised that the JSA, the Justice Society, will be returning, and that's exciting. And not those Earth 2 New 52 versions, which I did like the New 52 Earth 2 book for a while. I really liked it when James Robinson was doing it. I thought it was really cool stuff. Then it just became kind of stupid, in my opinion. I stopped following it. Maybe it got really good and strong towards the end, and whatever. I mean, it just recently ended, right? But I stopped reading it kind of shortly after James Robinson left. But that is Johnny Thunder from the Justice Society. That is a reference. That is the character that we saw in the DC Rebirth one-shot. So that is a nice throwback to that, letting us know that they have not forgotten about the Justice Society. In fact, remember in an issue of Flash, he sees the helmet of Mercury, as he calls it in here. He tells Batman, they're talking about Ghost, because Batman tells him that he saw the ghost of his father as Batman, the Thomas Wayne Batman from Flashpoint. So he tells Barry that he saw that ghost, and Barry tells him that, I've been seeing things too. I saw the helmet of Mercury. We know that that is the helmet of Jay Garrick, the original OG, very first Flash. That was the original Flash. In fact, if you are someone who says, let's get rid of Legacy, let's get rid of the reboots and all the relaunches and the trying new characters out and old, characters, you know, if you don't like the character replacements, do realize that Barry Allen is a replacement character, that Hal Jordan is a replacement character. Do remember that some of the greatest characters at DC Comics were replacement characters. Kyle Rayner, I would even say, is one of those characters. So, don't sleep on Jay Garrick, though. Jay Garrick is an amazing Flash. He's an awesome character. If you read the JSA stuff from back in the day, especially the Jeff Johns stuff, you're going to understand that these characters are amazing. And there's lots of references to the JSA in here. He mentions the helmet again, just to let us know that it's coming. Don't worry. We haven't forgotten about it, right? It basically then recaps what happened in the first issue of the Button, which was, of course, Reverse Flash coming back, beating the crap out of Batman in the Batcave, picking up the Button, getting zapped away, coming back and saying, "I saw God," and burns away to death in blue flame, an energy signature that's very specific to Dr. Manhattan. And that's what we're following in the Button especially, is the Watchmen DC Rebirth connection. Somebody, possibly Dr. Manhattan, we believe, has stolen years and hope and optimism from the DC Universe. And this is a cool explanation on what may have happened to the D. Now, we know that the New 52 was a way to resurge an interest in the DC Comics, and it worked. It worked for a time, but a lot of longtime fans felt like something was missing. DC has pegged that in as hope, and they're tying it, their loss of hope and innocence in comics, almost to the Watchmen, which I think is very poetic, very meta, but very, very cool. I think it's a really cool statement that they make, so they rehash everything. Batman's okay, he's still alive, he's beaten, he's bloodied, he's bruised, but he's still kicking. Flash decides, one of the things I really like about this is, first of all, Flash has a really good thought of the murderer of my mother is now dead. And he almost doesn't want to acknowledge how good that feels. And I love that Williamson put that in there for the Flash. I love it, absolutely. So he talks to Bruce about what's happened. Bruce is like, "That's my father." He tells him about that. They say that the blood on the Button doesn't match anything from any database that they've used, and they've checked Argus, they've checked Star Labs, everything they have. No DNA is on file for the Button, because of course the blood on the Button should belong to the comedian, right? Am I right about that? Do I remember that correctly? I think that's supposed to be his blood. So they go to the Watchtower, or at least Flash goes to the Watchtower. He goes to the Watchtower, and there's this awesome scene where you see all these artifacts. Back in the day, the Justice League had a trophy room. They would always keep all the little relics from all their old adventures. They call this the Lost and Found room, and that's really, really cool, because in there you can see lots of nifty things that are references to past DC history that we thought were lost. And now, because of events in Superman Reborn, are now coming back. Superman Reborn is a big deal about what's going on in the DC Universe, as the two timelines from the pre-Flashpoint universe and the New 52 universe are kind of tying or zipping themselves together now. And so in this trophy room, we see Blue Beetle's ship. We see Blue Beetle's ship, which is really cool because that's also reminiscent of Night Owl's ship, the Archimedes. So we see the Blue Beetle bug there. We got a Phantom Zone projector. We got Martian Manhunter's Silver Age costume, which super, super excites me. Lots of other things like the Dial H for Hero tablet, a helmet of fate up there. Our Man's ship. That is the Our Man from the Grant Morrison stuff, the DC 1 million stuff. This right here is also the Whirligog, which was one of his time machines from the Grant Morrison run. So a lot of that stuff is now canon again. It's coming back. So why does Flash go here? He goes here because, first of all, when Wally showed up, and this scene right here explains it when he says, "When I was outside of time, I felt their presence. I tried to see who it was. I couldn't, but I know they're out there, and they're waiting to attack for some reason." We believe that this is Dr. Manhattan, and maybe some of the other Watchmen, who knows. Of course, the enigmatic Mr. Oz from the Superman books is tied into this as well. Is he Ozymandias? I think it's gone on too long. I don't think it's possibly Ozymandias. Is it Night Owl? Is it Rorschach? Something like that, but the Watchmen stuff is there. But why does Barry go to this Lost and Found trophy room? He goes to get the Cosmic Treadmill. The Cosmic Treadmill is what Barry uses to travel through time. It's one of the things that led to the Flashpoint event. Barry went back in time to stop Reverse Flash from killing his mother, and it resulted into the Flashpoint. Flashpoints where Thomas Wayne was Batman. So Bruce shows up and says, "You don't think that I'm going to let you do this alone? This is my case too." So Bruce tags along through time on the Cosmic Treadmill, and then craziness happens. And all of a sudden, they start seeing glimpses of the past that they no longer remember, but is now being folded in because of the events of Superman Reborn. For instance, the original origin of the Justice League, which was retold by Mark Waid in JLA Year 1, and way back in the day was originally told in Brave and the Bold. It's right there. Barry and Bruce do not remember it, but there it is. They're witnessing it. Events that led to Identity Crisis are also referenced, as well as the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Crisis events are a big deal here, and that's what they're talking about. It's really, really cool. Those of us who have been waiting for the New 52 to kind of iron itself out, this is what's happening. This is what they're doing. They're bringing back that sense of legacy, of hope, of optimism. The thing that always set DC apart from Marvel. Not bashing Marvel. I love Marvel Comics. But DC and Marvel are definitely different. One of the things that DC always had was more mythological heroes, more hope, more optimistic type stories, more legacy-driven characters as well, which is interesting to see Marvel go more towards that route now with their legacy characters, which I think is a really good route for Marvel to take. So, as they're traveling around, Barry's talking about how I've never seen it be like this, and then bang, boom, pow, something happens. They get zapped away through time, through space, through dimensions. They wind up in a rudimentary version of the Batcave. Bruce remembers it and says, this looks like my early cave, but what is that gun there in that little glass case? And we know what's about to happen. And of course, it ends with the cliffhanger ending of Thomas Wayne Batman coming and meeting his son, Bruce Wayne Batman, face to face for the first time. So that's really, really exciting. So Tom King, that sets Tom King in the next chapter in Batman number 22, have a really interesting and very personal story with Batman having a conversation with his father. It's been a long time coming. I know you guys are excited to see it. So am I. But what really excites me is all the little tidbits about the Crisis events, about the history folding back in, about the trophy room, all that little stuff. Don't let the Thomas Wayne stuff distract you, because that is some of the most important stuff. And this issue was really cool. It's got my seal of approval. I think it's great. A necessary chapter, a really fun chapter. Not as thrilling as the last one, because the last one was just filled with symbolism and just an awesome ending that just, what? This one's got a great ending too. Not as much of an emotional impact for me, but it's going to lead to a very emotional story, I hope, by Tom King next week. Looking forward to that, guys. What did you know down below about Flash number 1? Were you excited to see all that stuff in the trophy room like me? Were you excited to see references to Infinite Crisis, or Identity Crisis actually, which led to Infinite Crisis, and Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the original origin of the Justice League? That's so cool to me. I love it. Can't wait for the next issue. Check out next week for the weekly comic book review. I'll talk about it, but I'll do another one of these videos where we get into it, spoiler filled, and I love doing these as well. So let me know what you thought about the book down below. I love talking to you guys about comics. Thank you for watching the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, weekly comic book review every single week. Also movie reviews, toy reviews, top 5 lists and blogs, and all that stuff can be found at popculturephilosophers.com, including our podcast. Do check it out. The newest one was 80s TV. That's out right now. We got a Tarantino one coming out. Very excited for you guys to hear it. We had a lot of fun doing that show. Anyway, once again, thank you so much for watching with us. Thank you for rocking, and keep reading.